It's a fascinating puzzle, isn't it? Trying to piece together our understanding of ourselves and, this strange trip we call life.
It really is. We pull insights from everywhere, like a lyric that just sticks, or maybe a moment of stillness, even ancient whispers that kind of still echo.
Exactly. And today we're diving into the audio and video world of an artist known as Carnage 1nOnly.
Right.
Consider this your sort of express route to some of the really thought-provoking ideas he seems to be putting out there.
Well, what immediately stands out, I think, is the sheer range of his expressions. It's quite something.
Oh, so?
We have everything from like raw, off-the-cuff freestyle raps to more deliberate spoken word pieces, and even guided meditations alongside these discussions about, well, spirituality, healing, how we perceive ourselves. It's a lot.
Absolutely. It's quite a collection, and our aim today is to really dig into it, extract the core ideas and maybe connect them in a way that offers you, the listener, a richer understanding of his perspective.
And perhaps shed some light on your own experiences too, right? Because that's often how this stuff works.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, let's start with this concept he introduces about his freestyle raps. He describes them as streamlining consciousness,
Hmm.
suggesting a direct flow from thought to expression. He even mentions that while they can sound ridiculous sometimes.
Which, let's be honest, freestyle can sometimes sound.
True. But he says they can also contain really beautiful things, almost like scripture having different layers of meaning.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts on that, this idea of unfiltered creativity holding deeper significance?
It raises a really interesting point, doesn't it? About the nature of meaning itself. Like, can profound truths pop up, even from stuff that sounds, well, chaotic,
Yeah.
or maybe even nonsensical on the surface?
Right.
It kind of suggests that maybe our critical, analytical mind sometimes gets in the way,
Yeah.
prevents us from accessing deeper levels of understanding.
You're like filtering too much.
Exactly. Think of it like panning for gold. You have to sift through a lot of raw material, right? And sometimes the most valuable bits are hidden in what just looks like noise.
That's a great analogy.
So could this streamlining consciousness be his way of trying to bypass those everyday filters and tap into something more, I don't know, intuitive?
That makes sense. And he even touches on this idea that often the advice people give is the very advice they subconsciously need themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic observation.
Yeah.
We project, right?
It makes you wonder if these freestyles, being so raw and unfiltered, might be revealing these deeper personal truths, things maybe even the artist himself is still kind of working through.
Could be. Almost like thinking out loud, but on a deeper, maybe subconscious level.
Then he transitions into this concept of mirroring, how our words and actions reflect back at us.
The world is a mirror.
And how even interactions with people we might label as mad or difficult can actually mirror aspects of our own inner landscape.
That's a big theme in a lot of wisdom traditions, isn't it? The external reflecting the internal.
It seems so.
When we have strong reactions to others, good or bad, it often points to something inside us that resonates with whatever quality we're seeing in them.
So encountering someone we see as mad might actually, what? Highlight our own chaotic thoughts or something.
Fears, maybe,
Yeah.
or behaviors we haven't quite owned up to. It's definitely a compelling idea. It pushes you towards introspection rather than just judgment.
And it's not all about the nice, easy stuff either, is it? He talks about the importance of accepting doubt and those difficult emotions.
Yeah, seeing them as a fundamental part of being human, not something to be like shoved down or seen as lower level than feeling happy all the time.
Which is a trap, I think, trying to be positive constantly.
It absolutely is. The full spectrum of human experience, including what we label negative, well, it gives us valuable information. It drives growth, even if it is uncomfortable.
So trying to suppress it is counterproductive. Totally. Can lead to more imbalance down the line. Accepting those feelings allows us to learn from them, integrate them,
He even reframes hardships as trophies.
Right. Trophies that remind us of our inner resilience.
It's a powerful way to look at challenges, definitely. But how does he suggest we actually get to that point? Seeing difficulty as something
Yeah.
not maybe celebrated, but acknowledged positively.
Well, it seems like he suggests the act of overcoming the hardship itself builds that inner strength. The experience becomes the proof.
Ah, okay.
So the trophies aren't about, glorifying the suffering itself. They're about acknowledging the resilience, the resourcefulness we found in ourselves during those tough
It's
times.
about changing the story we tell ourselves about the struggle.
Exactly. And following on from that, this idea of personal experience, he really emphasizes the subjective nature of truth.
Right, take what resonates. Like water for your garden, he says. Yeah, I like that phrase. It highlights that, one size definitely doesn't fit all when it comes to wisdom or guidance. It's about cultivating your own discernment, finding what nourishes you.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit here, he moves into some really rich spiritual and philosophical territory. He brings up figures like Hermes, Hermeticism,
Hmm.
Neville Goddard, and that foundational idea of as above, so below. That feels like a significant leap into deeper waters.
It is, yeah. And it
Yeah.
definitely indicates a serious engagement with mystical and philosophical thought.
So as above, so below,
Hmm.
what's the core idea there again?
It's central to Hermeticism. It
Mm.
basically proposes this fundamental interconnectedness between all levels of existence. Like the cosmos and the individual mirror each other. What happens on one level reflects on the others.
Okay.
And mentioning Hermes, the legendary sort of sage figure,
Hmm.
and Neville Goddard, who's known for his teachings on consciousness and imagination shaping reality, it suggests he's exploring how our inner world really does influence our outer experience.
Does he give specific examples of how he sees this as above, so below thing playing out?
Not in super explicit detail in the clips we reviewed, but he does talk about growth and oneness.
Right.
And he even identifies with the shepherd David from, the Bible,
Yeah.
seeing his own struggles as concepts for broader reflection.
So finding universal patterns in his personal journey?
Seems like it. Identifying with David, who faced tons of trials but eventually rose to kingship. That definitely speaks to a theme of finding strength and wisdom from adversity.
Turning personal struggles into adverse concepts, as he puts it.
Yeah, that suggests a process of intellectualizing and learning from those experiences,
Hmm.
letting them inform a more universal understanding of life's challenges.
And this idea of truth being subjective pops up again, but with an added layer. He mentions the value of collaborating with conflicting ideas.
Which is interesting, right? It's not about a battle to be right.
No, it's more like an opportunity for mutual learning.
Exactly. That's a really mature perspective on discourse, I think. Instead of seeing different opinions as threats, he sees them as potential catalysts, ways to get a more complete understanding.
How might that collaborative approach actually work in practice, though,
Yeah.
with conflicting ideas?
Well, it takes a willingness to step outside our own fixed views, doesn't it? And to genuinely listen and consider other perspectives, even if they feel contradictory at first.
So the goal isn't necessarily agreement.
Not always, no. It might be more about expanding our own understanding by integrating different facets of the truth, recognizing that each perspective might just hold one piece of a bigger, more complex puzzle.
Okay, then he makes this connection. Self-awareness is key to strengthening diversity.
Yeah, that's not an immediately obvious link, is it?
Not really.
Yeah.
How does understanding ourselves better help us appreciate diversity out there in the world?
Well, the idea is if we have a deep understanding of our own biases, our own assumptions, the lenses we view the world through, then we're better equipped to recognize and, importantly, appreciate the validity of other perspectives, even when they're very different from ours.
So knowing yourself helps you see others more clearly, without projecting so much.
Exactly. Self-awareness can foster empathy. It reduces that tendency to think our way is the only way or the right way. It's about recognizing the inherent value in different ways of being and understanding.
Okay. Now let's delve into the alchemical symbolism. That really comes through in his meditations.
It does, yeah. It's quite vivid.
He mentions a flickering fire representing inner work and an elusive heavenly dew for spiritual enlightenment.
Mm-hmm. Classic symbols.
And he talks about the dangers of imbalance, like failing to harmonize opposing forces, moon and sun, Mercury and sulfur, leads to an inert elixir.
Yeah, that's steeped in traditional alchemical metaphors. The flickering fire really captures the dynamic, often challenging nature of inner transformation. It's not always easy.
And the heavenly dew.
That's often used as a symbol for spiritual grace or some kind of transformative essence that's, well, hard to grasp. Elusive, as he says.
And the balance thing is key in alchemy.
Absolutely central. The whole idea is integrating seemingly contradictory aspects within ourselves, conscious, masculine, feminine, call them what you will. The inert elixir is basically stagnation, failure, no transformation happen.
He even brings in the 5 classical elements, earth, water, air, fire, ether,
Right.
along with the core alchemical principles, salt, sulfur, mercury. It really sounds like he views this inner journey as a genuine alchemical process, like turning inner lead into gold.
That seems to be exactly the framework he's using.
Can you just briefly touch on what those 5 elements usually represent, just to ground it a bit?
Sure. Traditionally, Earth is about grounding, stability, the
Yeah.
physical. Water is emotions, intuition, flow. Air is intellect, communication, ideas. Fire is energy, passion, transformation, spirit. And ether, sometimes called spirit, is that sort of connecting principle, the space in which everything else exists.
Yeah.
And putting them alongside salt, which often represents the body or fixity,
Yeah.
sulfur, the soul or volatility, and mercury, the spirit or the mediating principle, it just reinforces this idea of a really holistic process of inner refinement, purifying the self, essentially.
And then he makes this powerful statement, gold is not mined, it is awakened within us.
Yeah.
And we are made of gold, the sun beneath the skin. That feels like a shift, doesn't it? From something you achieve intellectually to something that's just inherently there.
Exactly. It emphasizes that our true value, our potential, isn't just an intellectual idea. It resides within our very being. It's innate.
The sun beneath the skin. That's a potent metaphor.
It really is. Suggests this inner radiance, a divine spark, maybe, that is our fundamental nature, is just waiting to be recognized, to be brought forth.
Which leads quite naturally into his perspective on healing, actually. He talks about how our conscious thoughts and beliefs can profoundly influence our physical health.
The mind-body connection, yeah.
Yeah.
Our cells responding to our mental and emotional state.
How does he elaborate on that, the impact on well-being?
He really emphasizes the power of our beliefs, the narratives we create about our health. If we constantly hold on to limiting beliefs like I'm always sickly or I'm prone to this, it can actually create a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy right down to the cellular level, according to this view.
And the flip side?
Cultivating positive, empowering beliefs about our body's innate ability to heal can actively support the restoration of health. It's about shifting that inner dialogue.
He then introduces this concept of the entity or greater self, describes it as something multidimensional.
Yeah, connecting our daily experiences right down to our cellular structure. It's definitely a more expansive view of who we are.
When he uses entity, is that different from the greater self? Or are they interchangeable?
That's a good question. They seem closely related. Entity might refer to a more, let's say, immediate multidimensional aspect that interfaces directly with our physical body and daily life. Whereas greater self often implies an even broader, more encompassing consciousness. Maybe think of the entity as a more localized expression of the greater self, still way beyond our everyday awareness, but more directly involved in our current life.
And this entity, or maybe the oversoul, as he also calls it, is continuously expanding. And we're each like a microcosm of that.
Exactly. It speaks to that deep interconnectedness of all beings. We're all participating in and contributing to this larger cosmic consciousness, this source. We evolve with it.
And he brings this back to healing by stressing how important belief is, releasing those limiting beliefs about being unwell.
Yeah, if you're deeply convinced you're always going to be sick, that belief itself can become a huge obstacle to actually getting better. It blocks the potential for healing.
Really highlights the power of mindset. Okay, now, this next bit sounds almost like sci-fi. Timeline collapsing and upgrading.
Huh. Yeah, it can sound that way.
But he frames it within a quantum spiritual perspective. Talks about reality as a quantum field of infinite possibilities that we collapse through our frequencies. Can you unpack that a bit? What is a quantum spiritual perspective?
Okay, so stripping it down, it borrows from quantum physics, this idea that at the fundamental level, reality is just potential, pure potentiality, until it's observed.
Observed by?
By consciousness. In this spiritual view, our thoughts, our emotions, our intentions, our overall energy state, what he calls frequencies, act as the observer. They influence which of these infinite potentials actually manifest in our experience.
So higher frequencies mean better realities.
Generally, yeah. Higher frequencies are associated with more positive, expansive, love-based realities. Lower frequencies with more fear-based, limited ones. He describes Earth as a consciousness school.
A school?
Yeah, where our souls come to evolve through experiencing duality. You know, the whole play of light and shadow, love and fear. And these timelines are like parallel realities, different potential paths.
And we can upgrade our timeline by raising our vibration, our frequency.
That's the idea. And timeline collapsing. That's about consciously pulling your energy away from old, outdated versions of yourself.
Like decluttering your past selves. That makes sense.
Precisely. It's about stopping the identification with and the feeding of energy into past regrets, limiting beliefs, old patterns. You let them go so you can step into more positive, aligned possibilities now.
He then contrasts a 3D ego-driven timeline with a 5D heart-centered reality. What's the difference there in his view?
Okay, so in this kind of framework, 3D is often shorthand for a reality focused on materialism, separation, competition, fear, control, where the ego runs the show.
Okay, familiar territory for many.
Right. And 5D represents a shift, a move towards unity consciousness, unconditional love, cooperation, intuition, empathy, a more heart-centered way of being. It's moving from scarcity and separation to abundance and interconnectedness.
And he offers practical ways to work with this. It's not just theory.
Apparently so. Things like consciously releasing karmic patterns, old debts or cycles, actively choosing love over fear in situations, and using visualization to connect with your highest potential self.
And then these really empowering statements. You are the portal, and you are a fractal of source.
Yeah, those are powerful affirmations, aren't they?
Yeah.
They really emphasize our direct connection to whatever you want to call creation or source energy, and our inherent ability to influence our reality.
You are the portal suggests the power for change is right here within us.
Exactly. And being a fractal of source just reinforces that idea that the divine essence, the whole universe in miniature, resides within each of us.
Okay. Next up, he addresses the theme of letting go, specifically the importance of self-respect in relationships.
Right. And knowing when to let love go, as he puts it.
And he offers this really poignant observation. Sometimes people leave because your light is too honest for their own inner shadows.
Wow. Yeah, that hits home, doesn't it? What does that imply, do you think? Your light being too honest?
Well, it suggests that sometimes just being your authentic self, expressing your truth, can be really challenging for people who aren't ready or willing to face their own unacknowledged stuff, their own shadows.
So it's not necessarily about you doing something wrong?
No, not at all. It's not about dimming your light to make others comfortable. It's about recognizing that people are on different stages of their journey, and sometimes those differences just lead to a natural parting of ways. For your own self-respect, maybe?
And he makes sure to say this isn't about shame, this process of letting go. It's about transformation.
Yes. And even if what you release doesn't come back, he says you are still the prophecy.
I like that. There's a real core of self-reliance in that. It's a powerful affirmation of your inherent worth, your potential, regardless of external validation or whether someone comes back or not.
Your journey continues, your future is still unfolding.
Your potential is intact, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, he presents quite a strong critique of modern medicine.
He does, suggests it's built on great deception, and positions alternative medicine as the original healing science, rooted in nature and spirit. That's a bold claim. What's the basis for that perspective?
Well, he touches on the idea that ancient healers saw illness very differently, more as a state of imbalance within the person and between the person and the cosmos, nature, spirit. Holistically,
Okay.
he draws a line connecting chemistry back to alchemy, suggesting modern chemistry lost something vital. And he criticizes pharmaceutical companies for, isolating compounds, maybe losing the synergistic effect of whole plants.
And prioritizing profit over truly holistic healing.
That seems to be the implication.
Yeah.
He advocates for reclaiming the wisdom of, alchemists, herbalists, shamans, those who worked with nature and spirit, restoring that harmony.
So this perspective argues that modern medicine, maybe in focusing so much on the purely physical and measurable, has lost touch with a more complete understanding of health.
That's the essence of it, yeah. A focus on symptoms rather than root imbalances, maybe. And a potential bias towards profitable solutions over natural or energetic approaches.
The call to reclaim ancient wisdom is about valuing those traditions that always considered mind, body, and spirit completely interconnected.
Exactly. It's a call for a more integrated approach.
Okay, wow. We have definitely traversed a vast landscape of ideas here, from the nuances of consciousness in freestyle rap,
Yeah.
all the way to quantum perspectives, alchemy, and a critique of modern healing. It's remarkable, actually, how interconnected all these themes seem to be in his vision.
Indeed. You can really see these central threads weaving through everything. The power of inner awareness, definitely. The idea that profound meaning can hide in unexpected places.
Right.
The importance of embracing a spiritual or philosophical lens to understand our existence. The potential for deep personal transformation, that alchemical gold within.
And that call to reconsider our relationship with health, with nature, with ancient wisdom.
Absolutely. It really underscores that this journey of understanding ourselves and the world, it's just continuous, isn't it? There are endless avenues for exploration, both inside us and in the perspectives of others.
It really does encourage you, the listener, to delve deeper into these concepts yourself, see how they resonate, or maybe where they challenge you.
Yeah, see what water feels right for your garden.
So as we conclude this deep dive, maybe consider this. How might embracing some of these diverse perspectives, from the raw honesty of stream of consciousness to the symbolic depth of alchemy, how might that reshape the way you understand your own experiences?
And maybe how you view your own boundless potential for growth. It definitely prompts us to look beyond just the conventional ways of thinking, doesn't it?
It really does. There's a potential for a much richer understanding when we integrate these different viewpoints.
Well said.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It's always a privilege to explore these kinds of layers of thought together and see what insights bubble up.